Welcome to the 700 Club. Adnan Alexander, the last living American hostage in Gaza, is set to be released today. The Trump administration negotiated directly with Hamas to make the deal.
Well, President Trump is calling it a goodwill gesture by the terror group. Israel says military pressure by the IDF made the deal possible. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is in Israel to facilitate the return of Alexander. The release comes just before President Trump visits the Middle East this week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office issued a statement about the release. The expected release of IDF soldier Adnan Alexander without anything in return will be possible due to the vigorous policy that we have led with the backing of President Trump, and thanks to the military pressure of IDF soldiers in the Gaza Strip. The announcement added that Israel didn't commit to a ceasefire or the release of terrorists, but only to a safe corridor for Alexander to be freed. It added that any future negotiations would come under fire, meaning the fighting in Gaza will not stop while the IDF prepares to expand the war.
You know, I would say that the entire game has changed, Chris. Up until now, over the last 20 months, our goal has been to try to deter Hamas, try to destroy them, but to be extremely careful around the hostages. And what this really resulted in was striking in and pulling back, striking and pulling back. And the problem is Hamas understood this right away.
Former IDF international spokesman Doron Spielman explained to CBN News while Israel is pursuing a new strategy.
What that means is the IDF pushes into Rafah, where we have very intense fighting, as I'm speaking to you right now in Rafah, with our brigades and with Hamas brigades in Rafah. We will hold that territory. As we move into the middle of Gaza, in the Khan Yunis, we will hold that territory to force Hamas to retreat to a smaller and smaller area where hopefully we can finish them.
The challenge, as always since October 7th, is saving the hostages.
What we know, of course, is what they know and what we all know, is that they will use those hostages into the last minute, but our hope is by pushing them into an area they have no choice to go to, that's when we hopefully can bring these people home and finish with this.
In the meantime, the U.S. and Iran finished their fourth round of talks in Oman over Iran's nuclear program. While Iran's foreign minister says talks are moving forward, he emphasized that they will not agree to stop enriching uranium.
This is a right of the Iranian people that is not up for negotiation or compromise.
Witkoff maintains that Iran must dismantle its enrichment facilities, downgrade the enriched fuel, and ship it far away. He told Breitbart News an enrichment program can never exist in the state of Iran ever again. That's our red line. The IDF also sent an urgent warning Sunday to the Houthis in Yemen. An IDF spokesman announced on X that since the Houthis use their seaports for terrorist activities, those in those ports should evacuate and stay away from them until further notice.
Well, CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now. The U.S. apparently talked to Hamas without Israel. What is the fallout from Israel, and what does Hamas get out of this deal?
Well, Gordon, what it does for Israel, it actually increases the internal pressure from the hostage families for the release of all the hostages. And the question is, what will this deal cost Israel? And what does Hamas get out of it? Well, some see, Gordon, this is a way that Hamas can drive a wedge between the U.S. and Israel. And how would they do that? By, first of all, making this goodwill gesture to President Trump, and then ask the president or his representatives to pressure Israel to go ahead and stop the war. And knowing right now, and as we said in our report, Israel is poised for a major offensive to defeat Hamas and end the war on Israel's terms. So it seems to be a very pivotal point. We're already seeing reports. Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy for President Trump, is telling hostage families he disagrees with the way Israel's waging the war and pointlessly extending the war. So that kind of puts more pressure on Netanyahu. And so the question is, how's the war going to end? With Hamas still in power or Israel in power? Very pivotal point and a point for prayer right now, Gordon.
Well, I was really surprised that Witkoff would do that he would go and publicly create a separation between the Trump administration, American foreign policy, and how Israel is conducting operations in Gaza. Is there a sense in Israel that there's now a growing rift between the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government?
In fact, there is right over here now, Gordon, because of several recent developments. First, today's separate deal to free Adnan Alexander that didn't include Israel. And so will the goodwill gesture, as I said, put pressure on Israel to stop the war? Then there was a separate agreement with the Houthis. That didn't include Israel to stop shipping, attacking shipping, but not stopping to attack Israel. Then the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks that don't include Israel. And also there's a report on the eve of President Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia that they may allow Saudi Arabia to have nuclear capabilities without demanding normalization with Israel in return. Also, Trump's not coming to the region. A lot of people are wondering about that. On the other hand, Ambassador Mike Huckabee, he denies there's any separation between Israel and the U.S. He says the relationship is strong. He had a series of interviews over the weekend where Huckabee said President's not snubbing Israel by skipping the Israel on the Middle East trip, and that the U.S. will never get in the way of Israel's self-defense, and especially against Iran.
Well, let's talk about the upcoming trip. President Trump leaving for the Middle East today. He's going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to Qatar. He's going to the UAE. What does he hope to accomplish?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with economic investment in the U.S. We're talking billions and maybe trillions of dollars. A conference called MAGA in the Desert. Things that are going to be discussed, Gordon, perhaps normalization with Israel, security cooperation. Now, the Saudis may bring up the idea of a Palestinian state. One report that's getting a lot of attention over here, Gordon, Qatar is thinking of giving Trump a $400 million luxury jumbo jet to replace Air Force One. And some thinking, is there a sort of a quid pro quo in this? So many are wondering, what about that as well as other things? But I wanted to add on a positive note, Gordon, President Herzog, Israel's president, said, there's nothing more I want to do than shake the hand of Sheikh Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, as a rapprochement between Jew and Muslims. And so he believes this could be a historic challenge, a historic moment for the Middle East.
Well, that same airplane's getting a lot of talk here in the United States, and you do wonder, is there an exchange happening? And in that exchange, is Israel going to be left on the sidelines? I do think there's hope for the Abraham Accords and a long-standing prayer. Can the sons of Ishmael and the sons of Isaac come together and join together and have peace? And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Let's continue to pray for that and continue to hope for it. Chris Mitchell, thanks for joining with us. Well, in other news, the stock markets are getting ready to roar today. They're responding to news of an agreement between China and the U.S. over tariffs. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. American and Chinese officials say they've reached a deal to roll back most of their recent tariffs in a 90-day pause. And as Dale Hurd reports, world markets have been surging.
The announcement of a deal came this morning in Switzerland.
We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause.
Our reciprocal tariff rate goes down 115%, and the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place.
The head of the Chinese delegation said the meeting achieved substantial progress and reached an important consensus. Under the agreement, the U.S. still has a 30% tariff on Chinese goods, 3 times the Chinese tariff on American imports. The U.S. is by far China's largest customer, exporting $450 billion a year to America. And Trump's 145% tariffs put a heavy burden on an already struggling export-driven economy.
They're under incredible pressure, and I think that's why you see them coming to the table the way they are coming now. But remember, they've been the worst trade abuser of all. It's not just tariffs in their case. It's also non-tariff trade barriers. It's stealing our intellectual property, violating patents and copyrights, all these things.
The announcement of the trade deal sent U.S. stock futures as well as Asian and European markets all surging. While the U.S. and China hammer out their trade dispute, a deal to end Russia's war in Ukraine is proving far more elusive after Vladimir Putin evaded a call for a 30-day ceasefire by Ukraine and European nations. Putin has called for direct negotiations with Ukraine and responded to the ceasefire proposal with an overnight drone attack. While Zelensky told his people he's waiting on a ceasefire agreement, President Trump posted on Truth Social, President Putin of Russia doesn't want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately. Zelensky then posted on X, I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday.
It's really up to Mr. Putin, who so far has not been negotiating in good faith, as to how we proceed from here. And we all want this war to end. We all want peace, but we want a just peace.
The White House is also taking a victory lap over the ceasefire it negotiated between India and Pakistan after fighting in the disputed Kashmir region left dozens dead. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Dale. Well, a milestone for Regent University this weekend as the school marked its 45th commencement ceremony. Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears, who earned her master's degree from Regent, launched the graduates into their callings with one word: go.
We celebrate the 45th commencement of Regent University, Christian leadership to change the world.
Remember who you are. Remember whose you are. Remember how far you have come. You have not come this far to only go this far. So,
I want to end by asking you, challenging you to this question. Will you make a prayer with me today? This is a bold prayer. Will you make a prayer where you will say, Lord, glorify yourself today and every day at my expense. Not my plan, but your plan. You're saying, God, I surrender myself to your will. If you are going to make that prayer with me, I want you to bow your heads and I'm going to pray with you.
Today, I sit here at 90 years old. My receiving an honorary doctorate degree from my peers from this university is a God-given gift. God gave Pat a vision and then called hundreds of people to help make this place a reality. I am overwhelmingly blessed to be one of them.
You are the generation of Jacob in Psalm 24 who will seek God's face. And as you do it, the very next verses open the gates for the King of Glory will come in. You literally have the power in your generation to complete the Great Commission. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, graduates, you may turn your tassels.
Five years of Christian leadership to change the world. Congratulations, Gordon.
And congratulations to all the graduates, one of the largest graduations in Regent's history. It was absolutely amazing what Winsome Sears spoke as a graduate to encourage graduates to go into all the world. And then Suraj Paul, the sacrifice it takes to follow Jesus, how you have to always pray that his will would be done. And then to hear from Howard Long, who received an honorary doctorate. He's been such a loyal donor, a loyal member of the Board of Trustees for decades, literally going back to one of the very first buildings, which was that library building that was right behind us as we celebrated. If you want Christian education, Christian higher education, where you know you're going to be trained as a Christian leader to change the world. All you have to do is check out Regent University. There's a special number you can call if you're interested in applying. We have so many different degrees in business, counseling, communication, arts, cybersecurity. Divinity is one of the largest schools. Education is the largest school we have. Government, the law school is now in the top 100 law schools in the nation. It's amazing what's happening at Regent. We're in the middle of a building program to put athletic facilities. Then we're going to have new dining hall, new residential facilities, and it's amazing what God is doing to fulfill the vision originally he gave to my father all the way back in 1977. If you want to apply, regent.edu is the website. Here's the number, 866-910-7615.